What the hell happened to 1080? So who else used to play this complete cheeseball of a series back in the day? Because it was great. Talk about edginess. This series was the pure embodiment of its era, as it supported everything from lame rapping to baggy pants, and it was also about extreme sports. So all the kids watching Rocket Power at the time thought it was probably one of the coolest things ever since like Wonder Balls, until they put a Wonder Ball back in their mouth, and then that instantly became the cool thing again. But 1080 has to be one of my favorite guilty pleasure games. Now, I'm more than willing to admit that these games are by no means perfect. They're not untouchable works of art, but my goodness, do I just have so much fun with these things. And if you've played them, you probably understand the vibe that they're going for. Don't lie, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into every time you boot up that sweet single player screen and are instantly smacked in the face with work your body, work your body, work your body, work your body. Push it out. So what exactly happened to these games? Like, why did these just fall out of existence? Well, I mean, if I had to guess, it was probably just due to popularity at the time, because extreme sports just really seemed to reach their peak in the late 90s and the early thousands, and due to that, we saw a complete rise in franchises like Cruisin' USA, SSX, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, BMX XXX. Now, I'm not saying extreme sports is just not popular at all nowadays, I just don't see it as integrated into culture as it once was, because people today seem to be more concerned with eating Tide Pods and dabbing or something stupid like that. So imagine you're a kid in the late 1990s and extreme sports are on the rise, and it's like cool to be a kid who skateboards, and if you couldn't skateboard, then you weren't cool. And that was me. So enter 1080. It was a snowboarding game that released in 1998 with its primary focus being racing rather than flipping around doing crazy tricks. Now, if you wanted to do that, you certainly could if you ever so pleased, but you were mainly there for the racing. If you wanted to waste time doing all that fancy footwork, you'd probably slow down and fall back in the race, at least if you're playing the first 1080, but if you're playing the sequel, then it actually helps you out a lot. Hey, you were more than welcome to show your opponent that you're the edgier, cooler teen than them, and you felt awesome. It did have a much more keen focus on physics-based races rather than just swerving around the course like Mario Kart, you know, that has dinosaurs and monkeys. And it felt so real at the time. Like, the graphics were amazing when this first came out. I remember just being sucked into this game just simply due to the fact that the snow would kick back up at me at the camera. Oh my god! Now, if anyone knows me, they know what kind of gamer I am. I like arcade-style games. They know that I like something that's kind of simple to pick up and play, but hard to master. I love games like that, and 1080 is got that written all over its face. So apparently for me and, you know, millions of others out there, 1080's arcade-like design actually made it really attractive just to pick up and play, because it is quite literally a simple title to pick up, but it is very, very difficult to fully get down because of its physics and tricks. And it is one of those games that I actually kind of suck at, but there's just something about it that just keeps drawing me back in. For one, I never get tired of racing games, and this is one of the only racing games that also brings in my love of snowboarding as well. So the racing wasn't the only thing that was attracted to me, it was the half pipe, the big ramp thing. I know there's probably a name for it, but that's what I'm gonna call it, the big ramp thing, because I'm an idiot. And me and my brother played this extensively, like I mean a lot. Like I was always Rob Haywood and he was always Dion Blaster, and those are like the cringiest names of all time, and I don't care. I love this game. And then when Nintendo decided to come out with a sequel, I lost it. Like, I was so excited to see this franchise actually come to the Nintendo GameCube in the form of 1080 Avalanche. Because I personally, I didn't really know many people who actually played this game a whole lot. I didn't think this was even going anywhere. Just knowing the fact that an even more extreme version of the original game where you could outrun avalanches was coming out, yeah, sign me up for that. Released in 2003, 1080 Avalanche made everything bigger and better than the original. The races were faster, they were even more arcade-like, the tricks were trickier, the graphics were cleaner. It was just an amazing improvement all around upon the original, and it's just a diddly-dang shame it didn't sell nearly as well. And that's really my main guess as to why the franchise has been on such a hiatus as of late, and I'm assuming Nintendo just really has no idea what they really want to do with it anymore. I mean, this wasn't like a hugely niche thing back in the day, but I mean, it was by no means a Zelda, a Mario, or even a Star Fox. They probably just see no huge benefit to making the game, but to that I say nay. There's more work to be done here. I have ideas, Nintendo. Please hire me. Because I've always thought something along the lines of like a touring mode or a story mode where you play as one of the snowboarders at a mountain resort would be a nice addition, and maybe even make it a murder mystery where you play as Ricky Winterboard and you have to figure out who killed who by snowboarding. Now I know some of you out there thinking, well, that's a bit ridiculous, but I would say, is it ridiculous enough? And also, I feel like Nintendo kind of gets into this funk when making games sometimes. Like, they try very hard with certain franchises to force a certain level of freshness into their games, which sometimes is actually quite appreciated because some franchises can get stale very fast if the right creative minds are not behind it. But then, just like with my F-Zero video, shameless plug, you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, you just need to smooth it out and refine it a little bit more. And Lord knows 1080 could use some smoothness, god damn. So if you combine that with like a healthy online community mode, time trials, a mission mode, you know, you got yourself a nice sized little game there. I also wouldn't blame Nintendo if this was a digital only release instead of being a physical one. Now, that would basically kill me as I would want it in a physical form because I like to cling on to the past like a 75-year-old man who still uses a flip phone and eats his licorice candy that I'm not really sure where he got it from, but he should probably throw it away because it's probably expired by now. But I do understand that they might be a tad concerned with the profit regarding this game. I mean, realistically, there's no competition though, so they could probably just wipe the floor with this. I really don't even remember the last time like a big snowboarding game even came out other than Steep, which was okay. I mean, it really wasn't all that great. Like, it was fine. It just didn't focus on racing, but it rather focused on having a big open world with not many exciting things to do to it, like every other AAA game out there. And to top this off, 1080 is somewhat of a time capsule. Like, it embodies everything that I loved about that generation of culture and games, and it would just be amazing to see that brought back for the modern era with just a new coat of paint. There's so much left to do here, and there's so much left that can be done with this franchise, and I really think Nintendo could just use it to build upon their current library of already fantastic games. If anything, this would just help diversify their lineup of stuff for the Switch, and I mean, now that they finally released some really, really high quality games for the console, I think they have a little wiggle room with the release schedule. Ooh, all this talk about snowboarding has me jacked for the next round of the Winter Olympics. I think I'm gonna start training for 2022. Nope, still lazy.